Shalom party people, and welcome to the 12 C's Toolbox. So today I want to talk to you guys about my Craftsman ignition wrench sets. Sometimes you may hear people call these like midget wrenches, but this 7/16 one that's right here is the largest one in the set, and then this one right here, this 5/32, is the smallest one in the set. This is a 10-piece set of wrenches, and back in the day when you bought these, they came in a little plastic pouch that they were just all kind of loose in there. And this little cover book thing that I have for them by Speedworks or whatever, I bought this pouch empty, and I like it. It has helped organize these really well, helps keep track of them really well. Everything fits in, covers up, and does that. And I just bought the pouch on Amazon because I needed a better way to keep track of these wrenches. Before we go any deeper, let's go to our scripture of the week. Deuteronomy 4:1-14. And now, O Israel, listen to the statutes and to the rules that I am teaching you, and do them, that you may live, and go in and take possession of the land that the Lord, the God of your fathers, is giving you. You shall not add to the word that I command you, nor take from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God that I command you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did at Baal Peor, for the Lord your God destroyed from among you all of the men that followed Baal Peor. But you who held fast to the Lord your God are all alive today. See, I have taught you statutes and rules, as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do them in the land that you are entering to take possession of it. Keep them and do them, for that will be your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the peoples, who, when they hear of all of these statutes, will say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has a God so near to it as the Lord our God is to us, whenever we call upon him? And what great nation is there that has statutes and rules so righteous as all of this law that I set before you today? Only care and keep your soul diligently, lest you forget the things that your eyes have seen, and lest you depart from the heart of all the days of your life. Make them known to your children and your children's children, how on the day that you stood before me, the Lord your God, at Horeb, the Lord said to me, gather the people to me, that I may let them hear my words, so that they may learn to fear me all the days that they live on earth, and that they may teach their children so. And you came near and stood at the foot of the mountain, while the mountain burned with fire to the heart of heaven, wrapped in darkness, cloud, and gloom. Then the Lord spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of words, but you saw no form. There was only a voice. And he declared to you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, that is, the 10 Commandments. And he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and rules, that you might do them in the land that you are going over to possess. All right, so we got a lot in there. And this is essentially Moses, he's given the history, and he's starting the real meat of the sermon. He's like, hey guys, the law that Yahweh is giving you, that, I'm articulating it to you, but this is from Yahweh. This law is not optional for you. You guys obey Yahweh, and he will bless you and keep you in the land. You disobey him, and it will not go well. But you who held fast to the Lord, your God, are all alive today. Why are those people alive? Because some of the people at Baal Peor decided that worshiping idols was more fun than worshiping Yahweh. And our hearts are prone to wonder. And it was only the people who held fast to Yahweh that made it out of there. So that's something that is just a boot stomp right there. Hold fast. Do not forsake the faith that you have been taught. And Yahweh's commands that are coming with this, they bring blessing. They keep us inside of his promises. Keep them and do them, for that will be your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the people, who, when they hear of all of these statutes, will say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. We can get into the whole nation state of Israel versus, the diaspora versus, being grafted in. We can get into that discussion. But why is the world saying, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people? It's because they're being obedient to Yahweh's law. It's not that they have Yahweh's law, it's that they're being obedient. Keep them and do them, for that will be your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the people, who, when they hear of all of these statutes, will say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. It's because they see the results, you're being obedient. And Yahweh's reminding them, is like, hey, this covenant was given to you. You chose this. You were asked, do you want to be a part of this? And you guys all chimed in, yes, we want this. We want to be a part of this. Other people should see how we are living, see how we are acting, and they're like, man, I want a piece of that. All right, back up top. So, these ignition wrenches. These are made by Craftsman. If you were to buy these today, the part number is C Charlie M Mike T Tango 42319. This is the SAE ignition wrench set. And people are like, ooh, those are cute. Can you put them in water and make them grow? I tell you what, these are a lot more useful than people give them credit for. And I have found that, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 times a year, I've needed to pull these out and use them for what they're made for. The further down in size you go, the more likely you're going to get a 6-point box end instead of a 12-point box end. But all in all, here, let's just the camera focus on that a little bit. This size has come in more handy than you think they would, especially when you're working on smaller stuff. These were designed to use on the ignition system of a car, and that's just a lot of small bolts that you're having to get in and use things that a big wrench just may not be conducive to. This setup, I will be working on something, maybe have a small thing of avionics that it's just very hard to get a big wrench down into, and being able to grab something and very daintily reach in and break a nut free and be able to use something is very, very nice. Just showing you, like, this is the 1/4 inch. You can use this for many, many things, and throw a 1/4 inch bed on that, and then you have something very small that doesn't take up hardly any space at all, and you can actually get some torque on something. So for that alone, I think these are well worth it. The retail on a brand new set of these is $32.99. I'm not the biggest fan of modern Craftsman stuff. I am hearing some relatively good stories out of guys who are trying to warranty some things, but that's them warranting new Craftsman products, not warranting Craftsman products that are pre-collapse of Sears. Me personally, if I was buying another set of these, I would go on eBay, and somewhere between $22 and $45, $46, you could pick up one of these sets, quote unquote used, but in very, very good condition without any of the wrenches missing. And you would have a very, very nice set of ignition wrenches. Are there better ignition wrenches that are out there? Of course there are. But having a set of 10 for a few times a year that you need, under $50 is very, very helpful. And then me personally, I'd run on Amazon and I'd buy one of these little empty cases. Like I said, this is by Speedworks. It doesn't really matter who makes these, but the ability to organize 10 little ignition wrenches in there and keep everything from, not being in a little plastic pouch that gets oily, greasy, dusty, dirty, whatever, and it just kind of gets annoying. You never know when you're going to need some of these, and especially if you are working on some of the things that are a little bit more intricate, you probably already have a set of ignition wrenches. They hardly take up any space in your toolbox, and they are literally worth their weight and their cost, just because you can swap things out very quickly if you need to. You can get into some confined spaces very, very well. You're not putting a huge wrench behind something that's very small and likely to strip out if you put too much pressure behind it. So having this set has more than paid for itself, many, many times over. And like I said, if me personally was buying another one of these sets, I'd go on eBay and I'd buy a used complete set, because the older Craftsman style is just, second to none as far as, price to quality ratio. I've said this several times. I think Harbor Freight is on the Icon line is definitely replacing what the professional series of Craftsman used to be. Pittsburgh and Quinn and all that those are fine, if you're a homeowner or whatever. But if you're making money with your tools, I would jump after an Icon before I would jump after a modern Craftsman. But I've got a lot of Craftsman stuff that's before the fall of Sears that is just top tier quality stuff. And like I said, I've heard of guys who are having very good luck on warranty and stuff out through Craftsman, but it's not the walk in the door and hand something over. So that's why me personally, if I was to replace this set, I'd just buy one off of eBay. And honestly, for that price, I might buy two and just keep an extra set in case something goes wrong, or gift it to my son when he gets older. That kind of thing. I would highly recommend, if you are working on anything intricate at all, if you are using a lot of 1/4-inch drive stuff, like I use a lot of 1/4-inch drive stuff, you might want to pick up a set of ignition wrenches if you don't already have some. I would personally encourage you to get a Craftsman set from eBay, just so that way you're getting something good, because you'd be buying a set that hopefully would be older than what a modern set would be that you'd go grab. And I'm just seeing some cheaper alloys of the steel that they're using in the low end stuff. And realistically, these aren't high stress stuff. So the modern normal set of Craftsman ignition wrenches, like I said, part number Charlie Mike Tango 42319. It's not like these are high torque options. So you might be very well served off of a new one. But me personally, I would just buy an old set off of eBay that was in good shape and none of them missing. And I think you would be very, very well served for what they are. Go do hard things.